So material counts, count them out. It's all going to come down to refreshes here. Peterbot picks up another set now. Back to the high ground to Pollo. As they wait, finally we got a little piece of land there. It's going to give people a moment to breathe if they can even get up here. But boxed up, Magia Jr. finds his 9th elimination now as a duo. Very well played for this team right here. Coming out of nowhere, showing us that there's other teams cooking down in this game as well.
I don't know who's in this one.
But this zone is just gotta be so annoying for these players to deal with. Just a huge body of water surrounding them here at the tip of coastal columns, and Peterbot as well, looking pumped up for a potential victory royale here in this lobby. It's all about just closing it out. They've already got 19 eliminations. Still looking to build more. 20 gonna find an elimination onto Iyamzo. Just unfortunate timing with the drop there, but Pollo, Peterbot, even faster still. 21 eliminations. Every time look away, they just managed to secure one more. Peterbot continuing to ramp up. All the players still left standing, just smothered in the low ground, stuck inside of the water, basically. Wind, Blizzard. Shoutouts to Hazens, though, representation from Brazil, but Blizzard will find himself getting eliminated. And again, Hazens,
Peterbot
doing what they can. But, you know, the 1v2 is not going to be enough. Peterbot able to close this one out. Another victory royale for this duo as they let everybody in NA be reminded of the fact that they are true elimination controllers.
They just drop kick 23% of that lobby. Let that sink in for a second there. We in the standings, when we jumped in, we had high hopes for at least 10 or so eliminations, but a 23 ball making it look easy. They are pushing numbers that most duos will never hit, yet alone in a qualifying level lobby of an FNCS stage. It's just incredible. It's impressive. Peterbot and Pollo do it again.
Yeah, sure enough, we couldn't have asked for it in better fashion, but we know what to expect from a Peterbot Pio sort of lobby. Let's see what the analysts have to say, though.
Yeah. What do I put on my glasses? No difference there. Still 23 elims, huh? That's crazy. Porter, I was gonna call him Poterbot. That's like a Pollo and Peterbot. No, we're not combining them. Peterbot, Pollo. Wow, 23 eliminations. So this is kind of like the swinging nature of like the duo, right? Sometimes they just come in, they just drop 23 eliminations and victory royale, and everyone's just like, what the heck is happening? Other times they kind of can make it far in the lobbies, or some even other times the lobby's like, okay, you guys are too strong. Everybody shut them down. But for this duo, this is why, like, in case you don't follow Fortnite, a lot of the community has already said, like, hey, this is their FNCS, right? This is going to be the duo that's going to walk away winners of major number 2. This hyper aggressive play style they have, like, they're just relentless at times, right, Viv? Like, sometimes, you know, a duo's like, hey, we're getting shot at, it's fine, just put it up on their wall, everything's cool. And then you've just got Pollo, you've got Peterbot in your box, and that's it. You're just like, hey, the lobby screen, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really all about efficiency. Like, I was saying it while I was watching Peterbot and Pollo kind of fight some duos throughout that. I was like, I have no idea how it's seemingly like they just have an infinite amount of pressure. Like, they never let up. It's like they do an initial amount of damage, and the other duo can never heal because it's seemingly like they're so efficient that it's like they never even like reload somehow. You know what I mean? Like, they're using the burst SMG in a lot of these scenarios, and it's just like, how are you just consistently applying pressure?
I
mean, just they're on a different level. And, you know, Taco kind of hit the point there, talking about how this end game was kind of going. But I have a rebuttal for Taco, actually. She was like, oh yeah, this zone was so annoying. You know what I mean? In the water, kept going over the water. Let me ask you something. Would you rather be with a water zone or Peterbot and Pollo? What's more annoying?
These players had to deal with both. Didn't they?
Man.
Both situations thrown onto them, and you're talking about the pressure there, and obviously when you have the mythic shotgun and the Thunder SMG, as well as the token that gives you that dash. That just allows them to play more and more pressure, more and more aggression, as well as kind of a safety net to get out of any kind of trouble or situation that they're in. But Peterbot and Poyo absolutely dominating. I can't wait to see the leaderboard just to show the juxtaposition of eliminations that they have compared to everyone else, because we were talking about it just last game. You can see them currently sitting in second place with more than double the eliminations. You can see them currently sitting in second place with more than double the eliminations. You can see them currently sitting in second place with more than double the eliminations.
Okay.
You can see them currently sitting in.
The Chipotle Challenger Series is back, featuring Tekken 8, exclusively on PS5. Compete for $20,000 in prizing, a paid trip to EVO 2024, and free Chipotle for a year. Sign up in-game through PS5 tournaments and get ready for the next battle.
I know I've messed up in the past. From now on, there will be $0
delivery fee.
What?
With Dash Pass, you pay $0 delivery fee on DoorDash.
To zero!
Dash Pass, your door to $0 delivery fees. DoorDash.
Okay, yeah, they can put up numbers in these qualifier weeks, right? That's cool. But when we get to these set lobbies, how will this kind of affect their own gameplay, right? When you're kind of going into a lobby, you're just like, okay, we'll just bounce game to game. And it's kind of, you know, every game is different because you don't know who's going to be in that game. You can kind of be, you can afford to be hyper aggressive, but Viv, you know, when these set lobbies come around and everyone's starting to go, okay, this is where they're going to land. This is kind of where they have to walk through to try and be successful. I feel like it could be very different.
I mean, it'll definitely be different. I don't know if we'll see as many eliminations in a set lobby format, but let's not forget, you know, the biggest kind of savior to the region, to the FNCS, was that they were being contested by Quanti. But now with the whole duo switch ups, Kelly, like Quanti's not even going to Grim Gate anymore, so they're probably going to get it uncontested in the set lobby format, which I think is even scarier.
That is really, really scary. And obviously we still have the semifinals, and that's where we start to see more of those set lobby meta that we're used to seeing, obviously, in the open qualifiers where we have 250 duos. You never really can predict who you're going to go up against and what your situation is. But the semifinals are definitely going to spell how these lobbies and how the grand finals is going to be working out for a duo like Peterbot and Poyo. But for right now, who cares if you go down early if you're able to already claim 44 eliminations?
Yeah, it's insane. Let's see if they put up more numbers like this, because last week they did just that. We're excited to see kind of how they continue to evolve, especially in those kind of more solidified formats. But hey, I know what you want. It's more games. Guess what? We're jumping on board with Clix and Epic Whale. Let's see how games go for them this next one.
So yeah, Epic Whale.
This is definitely a team we also never can get enough of. Clix and Epic Whale, honestly, one of our best, have risen directly to the top. Epic especially coming out with that incredible solo performance just recently. So, you know, he's really in tip-top shape right now as far as all things are concerned. But I want to touch on one little thing, Taco, that, you know, Vivid and Zeke kind of had a mini conversation about there for a second. I think we're just seeing a sample of what Peterbot and Poyo are looking to try to attempt in the finals lobby. I think what we're looking at is them practicing to show up to finals and do something we've never seen before. And that's successfully key every single player in the same game. But whoa, I think a sniper shot just came in, Taco.
Goodness, Epic Whale just absolutely obliterated the lobby. MDF, we can continue that talking point momentarily, but that is the last thing that Clix and Epic seem to expect here. It looked like a stroll through Lavish Lair initially, but now Clix forced to try and clutch up. But as a solo up against the likes of Cash, the 1v2 is never an easy feat, much less when there are other duos lurking nearby. Clix, if anything, all he wants is the reboot card and to escape. He wants to try and bring back Epic as quickly as possible before time runs out, because with the approach of the mid game, you're already going to have to expend so many resources, go to an isolated part of the map as well, likely going to be Clix pushing super far north, maybe towards that Rebels Roost area, but Caves is not letting up. Couple of tags coming through thanks to that thermal scope to keep tabs on exactly where Clix is running. Asian Jeff, Oliver OG could play spoiler for Clix on his solo endeavor to try and bring Epic back into this match. But that was just dastardly what happened to Epic.
Luckily though, Clicks quickly responds there, gets the card, and boogies on out of there. So should have an opportunity to get Epic back into this game. Muzz with the toad tag. Unfortunate. It's going to get popped and set back here. Blueberry Fizz is going to go ahead and get them right back into the round here shortly, but this is looking like a bit of a stacker game. This is a sleeper lobby right now. Walkers, Fatch, Bolts, Bryce. Man, this is no easy lobby right here by any means.
This is going to be a stacked endgame is what it's going to be, MDF, because with so many seasoned veterans in one lobby, you have to anticipate that these guys understand how to rotate, how to position, most especially, and it's going to make things really difficult. I'm expecting teams to encounter some pretty heavy surge threshold woes in this lobby because the top end of the pro scheme, I think, is going to make it very problematic for some of these newcomers that might have found their way in this match to encounter and overcome. Fatch Walkers posted up just outside edge of zone here by Reckless Railways. But to continue that conversation of Peterbot and Pollo and whether or not they're going to try to shock the world in the set lobby format of semifinals, it really is a circumstance, though, MDF, where I would just expect that Peterbot and Pollo find themselves in that semis upper bracket. Even if Grimgate is uncontested, it could potentially pose an issue for them because they're not going to be able to just steamroll through every single one of these duos in NA. Don't get me wrong, they are certainly a super talented duo, but I do think a huge reason for their success in this rolling lobby format playstyle is just the fact that they are encountering so many different kinds of teams. Some of these teams are newer to, this is like their first time even making it into one of these FNCS formats, for example, and so they're just getting their toes wet. But if they were able to find those repeat circumstances and go on an absolute elimination spree against the top teams in all of North America, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because again, there's also the rumor that depending how Peterbot's performance goes in Major 2, who knows, maybe he decides strolling over to EU, pull a Mix and Paco, switch up the region, and see what he can really do.
That would be insane. Sign me up for it. I want to see it. Might have to even ditch the NA region and go cast EU for a little bit just to watch that firsthand. I don't know. We'll see. But Epic, Will, and Clicks here playing the dead side rotate right now. Pickups are good. They're back into it. There's Pledge and Elsa right now. Complete opposite side of the zone. Went from the far north to the far south. Here's a team that's below the surge. We already know it's a bit of a stretch here as well. To get 70 damage, you will have to connect pretty confidently on someone. If they don't do this quickly,
Holy moly.
it's going to get that much more difficult here.
You know, I was kind of hoping
It's
for
the fact that Elsa and Pledge are also encountering some old builds as well.
West.
They can tell that they're actually the stragglers, kind of lacking behind everybody else, which means the further in that they press towards zone or edge of zone, the more likely they are to just get held up on the outskirts of it. And they're already getting pieced up by these Storm ticks as is. A very big problem when your surge isn't able to be built up high enough. 22. Still not enough. 10 above. Finally some relief.
Yeah, that's huge right there. We've seen this situation happen a lot of times, and teams will crumble under this pressure, not finding those very critical tags that give them a moment like this, a moment to just get back into the game for a second, pop your heals, and really situate yourself. You don't realize when the surge is tackling you, you have to juggle, you know, doing the damage. You also have to juggle trying to heal, right? You don't have a lot of time. Once you fall behind, that's it. We get to jump in with Agent Jeff and Oliver OG, though. We've seen a lot of conversation, of course, spark up around this duel right here. This is one that,
Agent Jeff?
you know, is hit or miss, but when they're hitting, they're so explosive, so very fun to watch here. And you might just see one of the bigger clashes of the day right here. Agent Jeff, Oliver OG versus Epic, Will, and Clicks. Which community essentially can get louder in the chat right now, because they are both juggernauts in the Fortnite space right now, and this is going to be a fun clash right here.
Poor Epic, though,
Hey, Asian
just
Jeff is
so
in
low on
87th
materials.
place.
Absolutely shambles as far as shield is concerned. Clicks might have been successful in that reboot scenario. Bring Epic back into this one, but the fact that Asian Jeff, Oliver OG are holding them, and now they're even finding themselves pinched one more time. Stuck between a multitude of teams here. It's going to be Walkers and Fatch on the other end of their backside of builds. But Oliver OG, Asian Jeff, they're actually going to be the ones trapped a little bit outside of zone. Epic trying to hold that peak for as long as possible, but we'll get knocked in the process. Clicks should be able to get this revive off, but again, that might be the opening that Asian Jeff and Oliver OG were looking for to try and pressure into their boxes.
So there's only 200.
These are great tags from Clicks here to really set things up, but you can see he's already shared more than enough with Epic. This is why he doesn't have extra shields or anything. They need this refresher right now. Little do they know, this is a healthy team they're jumping on of Asian Jeff and Oliver OG, but the tags are really good. The damage piercing through the builds right here. And they may have done enough to at least slow down the pressure, but Clicks jumps in. He wants the full finish, and he connects with every single shot, putting Epic in the backpack for a couple of moments there. And then another knock. It's not over just yet. And look at that. There goes those sweet, sweet shields. But no, there's another team here. The splashes have to get used. They cannot afford to stick around here.
They got just enough materials, though, just enough builds. Even though Clicks would have liked to get Rico's body materials as well, unfortunately won't be able to find it. And Nakoji, though, could find himself in a world of trouble, but Clicks, he's just so incredibly low, trying to use these 4 remaining bandages to get a little bit of white HP. Flurry of Fizz as well, but again, look at how they're being smothered by the rest of the lobby, just caught too late on the rotation. Epic now forced to be in Clicks' shoes here, but can he keep this momentum going? Absolutely shambles as far as materials are concerned. Whole lobby now focusing in on him, recognizing the fact that he is a solo after his duo got knocked right beside him. This is just such a tough spot for anyone to be in. Epic needs a miracle to pull this one off.
Yeah, he's been having a bit of a tough game so far, but maybe now that things
I think Epic might have gotten. I'm not Epic.
Solo clutch here, the solo performance of the day, and redeem this game.
All
in all, Clicks is definitely on fire. Take a look at this shot right here. TK with the body tag in the back-to-back.
Second place.
Make it
Peterbot
3-for-3 there.
In the 6th place.
Well played for him. Snipers always making it.
First place went down the
third.
third.
Here goes that story that we want to see continue. Epic Whale finds the tag here. That's the revenge elim here. He's on the backside of zone. Yeah, look at the pressure coming in. Picks up a fresh Flowberry Fizz, swings his way through the build there, effortlessly running from the opponents right now. Well played. But that zone taco's right on his heels here.
If he had even a semblance of any form of white heals MDF, I mean, the fact that he's made it this far is incredible enough. That refresh gave him some much needed materials over the top, but will just manage to skirt by. Epic, though, still looking for more. Wants to try and see if he can finish things off against Mavericks, but gets caught on the other side. Who knows who even gets credit for that one? Epic just, again, did what he could. And given how this lobby started out for Clicks and Epic, a decent shot at recovering. Unfortunately, in a lobby this stacked, it's just going to be all that more difficult. Because even the likes of TK and Bacon now on the fringe of being fully eliminated. Does have an ample amount of Flurry of Fizz to work with, though. But again, as a solo, and a lobby still stuck with plenty of duos. It's going to be difficult to deal with. Quack, nice height leverage. Just trying to suppress a lot of these teams on these lower layers, not really allowing anybody to try and challenge them on height.
The action going down on here. Meanwhile, Bryce just trying to survive, just trying to stay alive here, swinging all the way around the wide side. Meanwhile, TK from sniper shot to shotgun to the back there. Flinty's going to find him there. Okay, now it's Muzz and Paper working their way up to the mid-ground layer here. They're just about second height, finding some elims on the backside of zone. Temptation kicks in to go for the refresh, but it's not worth it. And look at this. High ground is barely holding on by 2 ramps. Could be an all-out brawl for height here coming soon.
Muzz and Paper definitely being very patient, very disciplined with their approach from secondary height. You can see Paper looking up, waiting for his opportunity to chop. Real does have an underworld dash to expend, but again, it's going to be Paper. Muzz immediately moving towards front side. Next zone, they can make another attempt for height in a few moments here. For right now, they just want to try and control the layer that they are currently on. Smiley and Max, though, they're going to be able to get decent refresh off of Reciprocal's body, and now Quack, Real, they're able to take control of the high ground one more time, but Quack just looking for a point to connect here. Smiley and Max still working their way through the low ground. A lot of hard materials being expended, completely out of brick, down to their metal for hards. Only about 20 builds left to work with there, too. As Quack almost entirely out of builds. If Muzz and Paper are able to spot out this wood, probably only a matter of time before they look to challenge it outright. That's why you can see Quack trying to focus them out, trying to ensure that they have to be delayed in their approach to the high ground. But it might not be enough.
I was just going to ask, what is G-Monster thinking jumping into this build? You can see them being put down and couldn't quite get the shot right there. Meanwhile, Max GG goes for the early heal, so he's going to be trying to lock in some placement points. High ground finally starts to shift hands. We knew it was going to happen. It was inevitable that the battle was going to kick off up here, and it's Yurt Easy and Thug Shark who take the high ground. Paper and Muzz give up the mid-ground layer and second height to jump down to low ground and start securing up some eliminations here. They're doing a great job. These maps right here, critical to keeping them alive right now, but it might just be the terrain that wins the game here. But no, it shifts back off that indestructible wall right there. That could have been devastating for everyone down in the low ground. And Paper is loving it. Look at how he's picking up these elims now. They're at 10. On fire here in the low ground.
More importantly, it's Paper finding a little bit more builds to work with. Only 1 banana for Thug Shark. He's gonna go ahead and expend it. Does get 4 chug splashes though off of that refresh elimination. Now it's Paper, Muzz. A duo that could look to solidify this Victor Royale, but they know the last remaining player up on height. It's gonna be Paper who's gonna actually go through the endeavor of trying to challenge him up above, but the build's just so incredibly low. Thug Shark trying not to get chopped out, but it's just not enough. He's out of builds entirely. Muzz and Paper with a full collapse, and the Victor Royale is all theirs.
Well played for them. That's going to be 12 eliminations and the Victor Royale. And they played that very, very well. Decision-making was at an all-time peak. As they were in the second layer, they had a chance much early on to take down the weakened high ground. As they were in the second layer, they had a chance much early on to take down the weakened.
Who just picked up Buffalo Wild Wings Go? The Hankster! Hank! What?
Jimmy already got B-Dubs Go.
Yeah, Jimmy already got B-Dubs Go. Jimmy already got B-Dubs Go?
Jimmy already got B-Dubs.
Okay, Jimmy already got B-Dubs Go delivered. But did he get 6 free wings?
Yep.
No!
Big going versus the rest of NA. Zeke, Kelly, and Vivid, what do you think?
I'm thinking it's looking real good. Last week, they placed 37th. So they are looking really strong for that upper bracket. And so this week, they're just thinking, hey, look, let's just cement it. Let's just make sure we just start semifinals going into that upper bracket. And what better way to prove we are worthy than a Victor Royale here?
Yeah, that's 2 victory royales already for Paper and Muzz. Love to see that. And gosh, I love watching Fortnite.
No.
Go end game. Like we saw Paper and Muzz, they were kind of shooting out for a high.
No.
Go end game. Like we saw Paper and Muzz, they were kind of 2 stacks of chug splashes, and I was like, oh my gosh, now they're going to use those to actually tank Storm and go for height. But no, they just went ahead and used them in Storm to tank Storm because they were out of materials, waited for an opportunity to get a refresh, and then played the low ground from there on out. So executing on multiple different strategies and then finishing off with that 2 from there on out. So executing on multiple different strategies and then finishing off with that 2 from there on out. So executing on multiple different strategies and then finishing off with that 2
better position, and Muzz went up from height instead to chop them out, kind of doing this pincer move. And that wasn't the first time we actually saw that in that game, where Paper and Muzz tried to go for height. They decided it's not going to work out, so they instead go to the front of zone at low ground. And once that zone started to rotate to a different hill, they got lucky. Zone pulled back the other direction. Then all these players that were preparing to go up the hill start dropping down, and then that's when Muzz and Paper cleaned the lobby up.
Yeah, and I think too, the small thing that I really appreciated there from Paper was, though he dropped all the way down, got the elimination, he didn't just immediately run for the loot, right? That's so easy in those moments to just get caught up and go, I just have to get this. And it's in those situations, someone watches the elim happen and they're waiting, right? He goes in, he boxes up, is like, takes the beat. All right, we're good. Let's get those the refresh from that. Super clean. More replays as we kind of continue just the talk of the day. Remember, we are here. We've got a 3-hour window, or we can play 10 games within that 3-hour window. We're either gonna get all 10 or some amount just within those 3 hours. As we hop on over, we're taking a look here at Clicks and Epic Will. They placed first last week. They're looking real good, and they're trying to make sure they make that run for not only globals, but for the Acts of Champions.
Yeah, I mean, Clicks just jumping in, having incredible tracking to finish off a duo inside of the same box with a burst SMG, and then them having insane synergy to actually shoot their shotguns at the same time off of an edit to pick up their 5th elimination there. Epic, of course, being left to clutch it up as Clicks got caught on the rotate. And, listen, Clicks may have more eliminations, but Epic Whale picking up a couple of more placement points right there before going down. A tough end game for that duo. But as we jump over to the leaderboard, they're going to be in 5th place. But one thing that I wanted to go ahead and note here, Kelly, one thing that we've noticed about all the teams that have actually won games throughout the day, all 18 wins have been by a returning duo from last week in Qualifier 1, Round 4. So there's a statement to kind of be said there.
Yeah, I think we all know that synergy is a big part of how well you can kind of keep your mentality going throughout the competition. And we know that once you have bad mentals, that can go down real quick. But Muzz and Paper currently sitting in 2nd place, definitely having a great mental game right now. The duo, though, that I kind of want to talk about that was in that previous page was G-Monster and Reciprocal. They are pulling out all the stops right now. They've gone 2 2nd place games already. And then I know that they were definitely in our top 5 in that last game as well. So a good run from that duo, currently in 3rd place, just below Muzz and Paper there, but Clicks and Epic Whale and 5th, we got Duke and Miro, one of the new duos that has to play out of their mind today if they even want to make it into the semifinals, let alone the upper bracket. But I mean, Zeke, top 10, that seems like they're in position to make it to the upper bracket.
That's the thing, though. They have to hold, right? They have to stay up there in the top 10. They cannot squander any games. They have to make sure they're firing on all cylinders, because again, if they make even one mistake, that could have them fall out of the competition entirely, right? Right now, they're looking good. We just keep that momentum shifting forward. I mean, there's so many things like Bugha and Agers as well. Again, because of all these different lobbies, like, you're just seeing glimpses here and there. But of course, the duo, we cannot deny a duo I want to see so much from. And so I'm excited to kind of see them continue to play and then eventually take it to semis, right?
Yeah, as you can see right there, they're in 33rd place right now. And the reason they are in 33rd is actually because their first 3 games were pretty rough, not really getting outside of the top 14 there. But their last game, their most recent one, a 4th place with 15 eliminations. So that's where a majority of those points are coming from. And if we know anything about Bugha, never count him out.
Yeah, you definitely can't count them out. And they got 10th place in week 1, so they're already sitting pretty good as far as series points goes. Yes, they definitely want to confirm that they're making it into the upper bracket, but even with the pacing that they have right now, it seems like they're going to be within the realm of the upper bracket.
Yeah, and then the trick will be staying there, right? Because that's we'll see in semifinals. You'll have to either keep going that the upper bracket lane rather, or fall into the lower bracket lane. So that's future us stuff. For now, I'm just excited to kind of see these duels kind of forming. We kind of touched on it last week a lot, though, about players evolving, right? How they evolve week to week. Do you guys feel like where are the areas that maybe Bugha and Agers kind of have to grow to kind of keep, growing? I guess that's a dumb question, the way to word it, but you know what I mean.
Well, lucky for us, I mean, I mentioned earlier there was a little bit of a mishap on a rotate from last week, right? That Flowberry Fizz kind of catches them off guard. But honestly, Bugha kind of does this thing every single season. And I think I mentioned it every single season where he doesn't really kind of show up. He doesn't really necessarily show us anything too special. until we actually make it to the grand final. So for this duo in particular, you know what? I think they're doing just fine because I know Booga.
Yeah, I like it. A lot of these duos will kind of show their hand as soon as we get into the open qualifiers round 4, and I kind of think that maybe they're being a little bit passive because, just as Vivid said, they're holding out for the grand finals, and it's Booga. He has to make it to the grand finals, right?
Right? Right. Listen, yes, of course. He has to. Yes. I was speaking into existence, therefore it should happen. Is there any other duos you guys are excited about looking? I mean, I feel like as well, Kanata and Cooper, another duo that I feel like really excites me when I kind of think about like these Titans kind of forming, especially again, maybe you're just tuning in. There was like this big shakeup that recently happened, a bunch of new duos coming together. How do you guys feel about these guys in their current state?
I mean, Kanata and Cooper should be a very, very strong duo. The only thing that kind of worries me about this one is that, you know, Kanata kind of wants to play that IGL role. Cooper was the IGL for Cooper and Miro. So there's a lot for them to kind of figure out in that regard. But if there's any duo that can kind of do it, I would bet that it's going to be them. And, you know, not to mention Kanata and Aegis were together for so long that maybe there is a lot right there where Kanata's used to having a duo who does certain things in certain situations. You got to adapt and learn all that stuff when you switch duos.
Yeah, knowing that communication and just understanding of each other, because you don't want to just be talking and blabbing the entire time like what we're doing right now. You want to be able to kind of just get a few words out and then you understand what your duo wants from you. So by having a new duo, you have a less of that rapport with them. But they got 5th place out of round 3 yesterday. I think that they're in a pretty good position right now. But they do need to perform a little bit better today if they want to put themselves in a prime position.
The stress. It's okay. I'll take on the stress for everybody. It'll be fine. We will keep the ball going. We have more games ready to go, so let's just jump on into the next one.
And we get to jump in with one of the more explosive duos on the day right now, Miro and Duke. Taco, I'm sure you've had a lot to think about with this duo, as we had a segment specifically focused on these types of teams that just have to perform well, but not gonna like top 10 well.
Yeah, because they want to ensure, as far as semis are concerned, that is essentially what Duke and Miro are initially tag teaming up here for today. They were originally just competing to try and make it into lower brackets. If they manage to find themselves confirming a top 10 placement on today's leaderboards, the series points that they're awarded might be enough to lock them down for the upper bracket, but I almost feel like that's the duo that might have been the origin story as well for why there was several different teams essentially switching up, because Dukes and Noxy, they really seem like they had gotten off to an impressive start, but it's almost as if it's that honeymoon phase, you know, started to wane a little bit. You can tell that Duke's eyes starting to wander, wanted to get something new, something fresh, something familiar even, goes back to his ex Miro. And it is interesting because they're both such prominent players in the North America scene. And to see them here today, currently in 7th place of the leaderboard leading into this match, it is definitely a much bigger message than what they were sending during opens, because their opens was quite the struggle.
Yeah, I definitely will say that I think the evidence is there to show that Duke was the epicenter of the problems that kicked off in NA, with all the teams starting to shake up and look for someone as far as a new duo was concerned. And look, he found one of the best. He found Miro, who, by the way, performed extraordinarily well in the final moments. They even pushed him here to this stage, the round 4 of this qualifier right now. So they're actually here off the backs of his duo right now, Miro.
We're just gonna go to here real quick. Then we'll go back on the Fortnite, but like channel. We're just gonna go to here real quick. Then we'll go back on the Fortnite, but like channel. We're just gonna go to here real quick. Then we'll go back on the Fortnite, but like wait, type in chat one more time. Then we'll just say like hi in chat. Just to make sure that you're still here. Like hi in chat. Just to make sure that you're still here. Like hi in chat. Just like, what would be like the price? What would be the price? Sorry, I spelled wood wrong. But what would be the price? And I'm not typing. Great.
Thinking I should bring back my 100% all-white meat popcorn chicken combos for $5.99? You're in luck. I did. If you weren't thinking that, I bet you are now. My popcorn chicken combos are only $5.99. Get them sauced and loaded for just $1 more. Welcome to Jock in the Box.
To establish this hoarding of fish, just true fishermen of the lobby here. Plenty of options as well, and just trying to stack all of their heals in one place. And again, Vivid asked me earlier on, would you rather deal with Peterbot and Pollo or the zone pools over water? And honestly, probably the zone pools over the water, man, because Peterbot and Pollo, it just feels personal. You know what I mean? Like, that's a duo where, like, if they catch sight of you, like, they're not going to stop chasing you until they eliminate you. That just feels so personal after a certain point.
You're not making that. You're just not making it.
But if I'm pars with the fish, you know, surrounding the water, who knows? You got better odds there for sure. Some rough zones though for a lot of these teams to deal with today.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a fair shakeup of some difficult ones. Hopefully this is the worst of it. For Bucky, not so much min-maxing as we've seen from, of course, Bucket and Pars there, but it's Okus and Bucky here who are set up. Bucky's got the low ground. Okus got a little bit of a position up top. Basically just a fishing rod short of getting their resources up and going. Snacky and Sonetto are also in this game. You just take a look at Day and Source. This is a very exciting team. We've seen them have their big moments here today, but they kind of have lost momentum, if you will. So you've gotten into the mid position here in the tournament. That is something to consider, y'all. Those of you guys watching, you have 10 games to squeeze within this 3-hour window. We're already halfway through that, more or less. We're actually just past the halfway mark. So time is ticking here, and rounds will start to run thin. And more importantly, if you don't optimize, if you don't make the best of them, you'll find yourself with a lot of games and not enough points.
What would be like the price?
The point spread definitely a little bit tough there for Day and Source, but to contrast that, Source had one of the best loadouts that we've seen on him all day today. And for the first time ever, they had a little bit of a lull in the action, right? They got a chance to kind of pause and breathe. We've seen them so on the go here today. It's been a lot of high-octane action, essentially. So Source and Day just kind of taking a moment to collect themselves in this lobby could be the kind of chance that they needed to essentially build that momentum back up.
I just want to say that was a fun little detail about Aviv. Last week, I know I was trolling by saying Aviv would have hit that shot. No, literally, I think the stats point in that direction.
Would you rather watch?
Impressive. There's so much to highlight, right, when it comes down to each of these different players, different duos, different skill sets. See what Vanillas and Convicts got going on right here, though, from the back side of the rotate. Wow. Oh my gosh, a lot of teams camping this general area here, waiting for the rift to go off. It's so very interesting how different the pacing is in a game like this versus when you know, we just came off of the heels of like a Peterbot and Boya who don't stop moving. They do not stop fighting, regardless of the zone, regardless of the situation on hand. It almost makes you feel like everyone's playing for something different.
I like this though for Source and Day, taking advantage of that rift, able to establish a nice little point of action on top of the hill here next to the windmills. Quanti and Byla directly behind them, however. Also getting to take a look at Sparemo and Taki. They're recognizing the fact they're going to have to get a move on soon enough. Granted, the Underworld Dash is being present might make it a little bit easier for them. But Vanillas and Convict, it has been all under fire since they rifted in. And they've still got plenty of ground to cover. Flowberry Fizz running incredibly low here for Vanillas as well. So they won't be able to be super dependent on it for every single one of their rotations unless they're able to find a good refresh later on.
It's crazy. This looks like all the teams that landed from the Rift, by the way, are all in shambles and below the Storm Surge. And this is what happens when you play super slow. You wait out rifts, right? All of a sudden now you're in this problematic section of the map because all of the teams are very much passive. But for Ploufft and Joe, they're going to be the ones that at least come out on top for the first duo there and find themselves a max material. Seems like a good, healthy subset of heals to take for the road as well. So it's not all bad here so far.
Could definitely be worse, but again, such a long span of ground to cover. And even with those Underworld Dashes, these teams that are already established on height, these teams that are already inside of zone, looking at the likes of Snacky there on the ridges. Xanda, Lawrence, meanwhile, dealing with Asian Jeff, Oliver OG. You can't expend too much time, though, on these box fights. If you're not inside of zone already, you're just going to get held up by the rest of the lobby if you spend too long in these engagements.
There's a lot going on here. These teams below the surge. They only have a single elimination. Shots are coming in from Oliver OG and Asian Jeff. They are the ones who get punished first, but they do trade the tags there. It's not going to last very long, though. The numbers lagging behind just a tad bit there. Xanda's fresh walls get targeted. Lawrence, the veteran here, have to fend for himself right now. And you hate to see it go down like this. All these material count, these extra heals, everything done almost perfectly except for the activity against other players.
And that's exactly what I was trying to reference, but again, it's the nature of the game sometimes. A little replay action here. Taking back in with Miro and Duke and Miro. I mean, and yeah, if you're talking about them being an elimination machine, with aim like that, it's for good reason. Miro just so dependable when it comes to locking.
Okay, we're switching it up. We're watching me now. Where does this one very want to watch? FNCS. Kind of want to watch FNCS in them.
Commit to just yet. Seems as though Violet and Quanti are definitely content with their current position. Pars, on the other hand, again, just doing everything he can to try and squirm his way into the safety net of zone, but every direction just gotta be so paranoid at this point inside of the mid-ground layers. If any of these duos recognize the fact that there's a solo lurking nearby, they'll pounce immediately into his box. Miro, meanwhile, getting a nice little refarm on some mats. Pars, again, so incredibly low, just doesn't have it left in the tank here. Finds his wall getting taken and just not enough to keep it going, but there's still another lobby, still another chance.
Nope, missed the tag that mattered most right there. And you know what? This game's actually pretty exciting if you think about it. We started this off with 3 out of the 4 duos we highlighted at the top of the event tonight that are new duos that have to perform well. Hero and Dukes, of course, being the pedestal of the bulk as far as the performance is concerned right now.
Yeah,
And damage was looking pretty solid there onto Bucky and Okus, and actually Okus ends up paying for it as another team jumps in, puts their opinion on top of things, and now Bucky is left by himself. More pressure from another duo down low. This is not looking good right now. Chubbs and Aviv still up 8 eliminations. They are right into the conversation right now.
Definitely looking pretty solid as far as their loadouts are concerned as well. Chubbs, Aviv just attacking the same wall, trying to see if they can apply any further pressure before they begin their own tarp forward through that mid-low ground territory. And Duke and Mira, though, front side of zone, completely low ground. Xavi and Neko in the opposite direction, though. Playing that high ground currently is Mira and Duke. I mean, Mira is definitely a player that loves to try and control the low ground. Just so aggressive with it as well. Asian Jeff, Oliver OG fending for their lives currently, and they will successfully push back onto Curse, but damage isn't done just yet. Byla, Quanti, they also want to make their marks in this lobby. Unfortunately, Byla will have to do it alone as Quanti goes down. Flopper has been dropped, and Byla will at the very least be able to pick up the medallions, but at the same time, that agility is speed. Or the aspect of speed, I should say.
Oh my gosh.
Could be problematic.
Byla found stiff down to the low ground there. I was going to say, I was just so distracted by Asian Jeff and Oliver for a second. You just see Byla in the corner of the screen catching a massive elimination there. Meanwhile, high ground, those Xavi and company setting themselves up to potentially win the game, but Byla has to clutch this out right now. He, of all the duos that were shaken up, jumping in here that need points, is the furthest below as far as points are concerned. This is big right here. Top 10, every single placement point matters, but eliminations are worth just as much too. Many players here surrounding Agent Jeff and Oliver OG, though. They're looking, where'd that guy go? He slipped away somehow. Meanwhile, Chubbs and Aviv still getting active here. That's their 10th elimination. That one's on to Duke.
Chubbs probably pretty pleased with that one. Asian Jeff, Oliver OG, though, eliminating Day and Source. Massive refresh, one that they desperately needed to keep this lobby life going. But Miro, solo, directly above Oliver OG and Asian Jeff, trying to hold up here for a second, wants to get reloads, make sure there's weapons good to go. But Asian Jeff, Oliver, they're gonna get spotted out, instead pressured by another team. It's Chubbs, it's Aviv, extending another 2 eliminations in their favor. 12 in total as Byla now trying to escape their walls, but as a solo versus the likes of Aviv and Chubbs, it's just not enough. Miro still looking to play spoiler there if he can.
So I'll be honest right now, XD right here has a good amount of heals, but I don't think it's going to be enough to survive the storm here for much longer. He's going to jump on in. Xavi and crew should have honestly cakewalked their way through this victory royale, and it could just be because all the other teams needed that much more activity in order to perform and get up to the top of the standings. But Aviv might have just gotten away with murder. He snuck his way into the storm when Xavi jumped down onto XD on high ground. You have Neko still healing as well. I mean, Taco, it's a coin flip at this point. Who exactly has more heals? I don't know.
But for Neko, having to believe that they probably ran out. Xavi seems to have made the call, though,
Flashes.
for where Aviv might be located. Aviv still trying to just kind of stay poised behind his gun.
It's not that hard, but like,
Maybe a 1v1.
this editing is hard to
Tag
like
there, Taco, in the end when it mattered most.
do stuff and then
You
fall
really
straight away.
That's basically what Aviv said
That's
to
weird.
Neko, but
And now I'm doing squad edit,
you could tell
but
that they
with
definitely did not
stairs
have the heals
instead
to
of-
match what Aviv was working with. That's why we saw them drop from
I don't
that
need
safe position
to
all the
know
way
how to
up
do
on the high
squad
ground.
edit.
They knew they had to engage if they wanted any chance at winning this lobby.
Take a look, 6 HP, a singular moment away from it being completely wrapped. And Aviv and Chubbs do it again. Zeke, catch me up. What does this mean for this fresh duo right here?
Bro, there's no way, like a single tick to drop the 101 on the dome and then to send out the 35 almost simultaneously. We're talking like milliseconds, right? That almost could have gone either which way. Aviv Whoa, congrats on the victory out and that elim. That was nuts.
Seriously, perfectly played there by Aviv. I mean, the fact that, technically speaking, Neko would have won if Neko didn't go down right there, right? If Aviv doesn't actually get that elimination before he goes down to Storm, because remember, Aviv had 6 HP right there at the end, then Neko would have won that one. So Aviv timing the re-engage perfectly gets the victory royale.
Absolutely incredible finality to that, but the entire run that we got to see for the end game of this duo of Aviv and Chubbs was just mind-blowing. The absolute control that they had from the low ground, which is what allotted them 15 eliminations. I am very, very excited to see them jump up our leaderboard with 232 points, 7 points. But of course, before we get into that, Vivid, we have to look at some of the highlights.
Yeah, they a new duo kind of coming into this as well. Chubbs and Aviv absolutely showing off right here. And, thinking about their duo right now, I'm taking a look at their match history. They've been playing pretty well throughout the day so far. For being a new duo, their last 3 games now with that first place, the other 2 were a 5th and a 2nd. So shout out to them. Clearly, the duo switch ups went in their favor.
Yeah, and an interesting stat that just popped up for me is that Aviv has one of the best accuracies. In fact, he led all of North America Central with a 24% accuracy during round 3, and that definitely showcased today here as he led the charge and was able to get that final shot. Accurate indeed.
This is just so disgusting. Aviv, that was crazy. 10 elims on you as well. 15 for the duo in that game. That's what you need, right? We need the jump start. We just need to keep on cruising. We're trying to make upper bracket and semifinals, or hopefully at very worst lower bracket, right? And then we can fight our way back into finals. Man, oh man, I want to take a look at more highlights coming out. We had a couple from Miro in this one game we got to watch. Man, Miro is also just crazy, dude.
Yeah, this is actually a duo where there's a lot of questions about whether or not this duo was actually going to work. Remember, they have to perform very, very well today to actually go into the bracket play and, showing up when it really matters. But Kelly, can you really ever count Miro out? Remember, this was an old duo made of Booga. Learned a lot from him, and you can't count Booga out, and you can't count Miro out either.
You're right. Dukes and Miro have actually played. They say that they're a new duo, and I guess technically they are, but as a trio, they have competed together before, all the way back in Chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken, back when it was a trios competition. But I'm very excited to look at our leaderboard here. Pin and Pump leading the charge right now, but only a 1-point lead over Aviv and Chubbs. Dukes and Miro, we were questioning these new duos, and Zeke, they seem to be doing fine.
They are firing on all cylinders. And in case you're wondering, like, wait, why have we not seen them? Like, how are they up there? It's because there's different lobbies all happening. So in their own games, they're crushing it. Hopefully we'll get to see them soon. But yeah, I mean, look at this top 10. This is insane. And one thing to point out, from 1st to 10th, almost Vivid math help, please, quick. 50 points. It was like 50 points. 40 points. Thank you. I don't know how to do math. I just know how to do meme.
Oh, God.
So a pretty big lead, but still, like, even just a single game could make the difference, right? You could jump from outside of that top 10 into the top 10 with one good game. And as we're starting to kind of get to the tail end of just today, many duos are probably thinking the same thing. We're not in lower brackets. What do we need to do to make sure we are?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question, right? A lot of these newer duos, like we mentioned earlier, I don't know if it still stands, but a lot of the teams actually from qualifier 1 round 4 are the ones winning the games pretty much exclusively already here in qualifier 2 round 4. So for a lot of those new teams, to me, that kind of means that they're not necessarily winning games, which means that they're not necessarily getting as many points as they could be getting, which puts a big question mark on whether or not they'll actually be able to clutch up.
Listen, Zeke, you ask, what can they do to get these points? And I can tell you what to not do is what Baka and Pars did at the early game there, where they're essentially just playing a fishing simulator. I don't think it really worked out for them. I don't remember seeing them in the end game there, but they did have at least, 50 fish collected by Zone 6. So if you're looking for what not to do, that's your example right there.
Man, that's crazy. Well, they tried to corner the market on the fishing, but it just didn't work out for them. But maybe this game will have more fish. I don't know. Let's just get back in the action. I want more Fortnite. Let's go.
Well, lucky for us, Zeke, we have plenty of Fortnite in front of us, and we get to tune in with one of our other favorite duos we want to see perform well this season. It's Cooper. It's Kanata, who are off to a pretty interesting tournament run so far. They are, I would say, in the middle of the upper upper half of the competition right now. Not doing great, not doing bad by any means though. And this could be a game that's going to have a standout performance here, Tacos. They're already at 9 eliminations come in the midway point.
Definitely a strong start for this team in this lobby, but my primary concern is the fact that Kanata, Cooper, neither of them have full loadouts. Seems as though they've definitely struggled in terms of being able to maintain their white heels, probably because of the fact that they've been involved with so many engagements.
Yeah.
But at least they're winning them. 9 eliminations. It's just unfortunate that the teams that they're eliminating don't appear to have given them the resources that they probably should have been rewarded for after having gotten so many elims in the first place. But one thing that's really exciting about Kanata and Cooper is when you consider the fact that they're not just a new duo coming together, but also the fact that their initial drop spot at the Marigold was taken away right before they actually enter week 1 of the competition, right? So I think it's definitely been tough for Kanata and Cooper to essentially find their new drop spot identity, but once they do kind of lock that down, which I'm confident a duo as prominent as them will be able to eventually find, they're going to be, I think, quite the force to be reckoned with. But of course, that being said, for right now, their only focus seems to be on just trying to find some sort of refresh that'll give them the white heals that they need to continue farming up eliminations in this lobby.
That's a really good point. I think if you put their performance on a graph, the trajectory is moving in the right direction. We'll see what happens as they start, like you said, to really settle in and find their place here on the map. But Skittles and Trashy here, they play for some early high ground in Zone 7. They do seem to have the more dominant position. The tree separates them from the line of sight of the duo next door, so... Oh, I thought someone landed on Skittles for a second. I was like, what just happened? It's just Trashy coming back up to high ground right now.
How often do you think jump scares actually happen, though, with duos?
In-game?
For sure, like, just not expecting your teammate to just come up behind you. Quinn seems like he found company he didn't want either in the low ground here. So many teams duking it out. Congestion rampant on this west side of zone.
What do you think of this? Nixon and Paco below the surge right now. Our EU duo jumping in. Love the wall take here. Will they go for the edit? No, the pre-edit instead. The quick finish there. Nicely done to keep them right in the game. I mean, that's how you do it, and that's really how you want to do it. Quick and easy. You need the big damage there. You really don't want to, but you don't want to sit and burn your heals either. I really do like the proactivity we've seen come into motion right there.
And this is also crucial for Mixin and Paco, as they catch ghouls a little bit on their rotation alongside his duo Jamman. But what I want to say is that Mixin and Paco, you have to remember, when they played Major 1 on EU, they didn't even qualify for their region's grant. So now that they're on vacation, as they say, and they're situated in Dallas on 0 ping, they're trying to qual in North America for their first grands of Chapter 5. And Bolts looking to try and shut that dream down for anybody that seems to encounter him. Nice elimination there.
Yeah, you're platforming up, you know, of course, the EU duo that touched down on the NA, but the action is really getting started right now as we're in the end game here. Kanata gets saved by Cooper here. Quick splash comes down to keep him alive. Zone's done a lot of damage to his duo, but they're at 12 elims here. Plenty of material here to go ahead and bounce back and find, really battle their way to a refresher. That will likely have to be what happens here shortly. Meanwhile, Paco and Mixin from no storm surge to high ground and height set up. Don't know how you turn that back around. That was a quick turn of events for them. Meanwhile, Cam and Diminish, the team that started off the first game hot in first place on the overall standings, has found its way down here. They have a lot of room to make up for, but look, you let your guard down for Mixin and Paco, and all of a sudden, another team snipes it. Just like that, Trashy and Skittles are now turning all focus here on the second height team.
Trashy and Skittles also going to be a menacing duo to try and take height from, given that they have that Cerberus medallion. Kanata, though, could care less. Raining terror on that secondary height. Flacco immediately pieced up by Kanata, but Kanata has lost Cooper in the process, so unfortunately, he'll be forced to continue the rest of this match as a solo. 13 eliminations in total, though, for this team. So 26 points off their elims alone. It's definitely a nice place to be, but you know Kanata, he always wants more.
That's definitely right, but the prize is in the details right here as Kanata has spotted out a few players. He's going to opt in to just go ahead and slow it down for a second, play the Medkit here, buy him some time, allow the other players to distance themselves and even get into a fight, but on high ground, it shakes up again. Bolts and Bryce target the team up top, and then they get crushed out as Cam and Aminish fail to maintain height here. Paco and Mixon failed to maintain it as well, and I think, I was gonna say, I don't think that's gonna be the last of them as the battle just breaks out before we realize it. Bolts is taken out by the hands of Aminish. It does seem like they just had ego step right on in. Cam and company jump right back into the swing of things, and look at that, plenty of heals here to bounce back, but the fact that he's holding on to it, Cam is telling us that he wants to play for the heal off, and he's willing to trade out his duo here in this endgame.
But Trashy still holding on to that Cerberus medallion, I believe. That aspect of agility saving him because he doesn't have many builds to work with. Still able to just dash forward, kind of hold on to his resources as long as possible as far as materials are concerned. Finds an opportunity. It's going to be onto Bryce, but needs to confirm the elimination, and he does. Now he just needs to make sure that he stays inside his zone, but doesn't actually get a chance to bow the rewards of that elimination aside from the 2 points. No refresh just yet. Trashy still in a tough spot, and sure enough, will finally get cleaned up on the low ground. Zero now in control of that aspect of agility, I believe.
Straight melts it down low, but Cam jumps down. This is the win condition. Cam has the win condition, and he is nearly tossing this game in the air at this point. I'm not sure why he would decide to do this, but hey, those sweet, sweet points are definitely all the more worth it. Luckily, it does seem like the teams that are on the edge of the storm do not have a means to survive for much longer. And they bounce back a little too far. Yes, great hold here. Cam finds the elimination there, and it should just be a matter of moments before it's all over. Asuso, there it is. He's waited out to second place. I think he recognizes this is the run, and Cam and Aminish are just waiting this one out. Looking back here, all the time in the world, Cam is going to go and hop back in, and Taco, this is a good game for Aminish and Cam. They really had to work for it as they fought their way back and forth for the high ground to go and close this one out.
Can we just talk about how rapidly this lobby thinned out, though? I feel like one moment we're scoping in onto Kanata and Cooper, and the next thing we know, it's just Cam and Aminish slam dunking from the high ground. A nice job, as more of a risky approach there, as you pointed out, with that drop to low ground, but that attempt to play Disruptor certainly panned out. When Geeky eliminated, means that all the pressure was onto Soso and just nowhere left to run once Cam started sniffing him out.
Great game for Cam and Aminish. They wrap things up here, and that'll surely toss them on up. Zeke, what do you think about that one?
Hey, listen, a victory out with double-digit eliminations. That's what I like to see. Okay, let's get more of those for more points. All right, Cam and Aminish, we saw them earlier on in the day, and we even saw that they were leading the pack for a little while. And when you guys see these standings, you're going to see there's been some developments. But until then, for Cam and Aminish, a victory out, 11 elims, that's huge.
Zeke, always with the wandering eye over there towards the leaderboard. I see you. Cam and Aminish, the wandering eye for this duo. It was Cam on the low ground, trying to find as many eliminations as possible. You know, it's not often, Kelly, where we see a team when they're on the high ground, they have full control of it, and one of them just drops down on the low ground. There's no builds underneath them. They're just going for the eliminations. That was Cam in that instance with the support from Aminish, who was up on top. Well done.
Well, you're talking about the Wandering Eye, and that Wandering Eye started around Zone 10 when they were looking to take height away from Bolts and Bryce, and they did just that, and I think this actually might be the moment right here. Such a sneaky, close play, and I think these height steals are kind of throwing our high ground teams for a loop. But Diminished and Cam were able to hold out that high ground for the rest of the game. And like you were saying, with that wandering eye, well, why not go for eliminations if you're already feeling confident, Vivid? 11 eliminations in a VR is better than 6 eliminations in a VR.
Yeah, crazy enough, you know, you're kind of talking about the high ground takes right there. And honestly, high ground takes throughout the round 4s combined between qualifiers at 1 and 2 last weekend and this weekend. It's been an average of 7 switches on the high ground per game. So teams are trying to fight for it, and more than just a few indeed. So teams definitely got to fight pretty hard or go at a timely moment to make sure that they can secure it. For Cam and Diminished, they got that figured out.
That is a crazy stat, right? To consider that every game, it's changing hands every single time, right? And this is just because of this format, right? In set lobbies, it probably won't be like this, but that is a crazy stat. Okay, I promised you some things have changed in the standings. Ooh. Let's take a look together, okay? Just take a little look at this, okay? Who's in that number 1 spot? Who do you think it is? It's Peterbot and Pollo. Now, here's the thing, okay? You're probably like, wait, Zeke, what happened? Remember that game? We saw them a couple games ago. They had 23 elims, right? Second game after that, 15th place, 14 elims. Okay. The game they just had, 4th place, 24 elims. Guys, they're ramping up. Somebody stop them.
No, Zeke. I think you need to go into the back and make sure everything's okay with the leaderboard, because I could have swore, did I say 82 elim? That can't be right. No. I refuse to believe 82 eliminations for Peterbot and Pollo. How?
But I love the difference that we're seeing here from 1st and 2nd place, where there's only a 10-point difference.
Oh, yeah.
A 50 elimination difference. But Muzz and Paper with 3 victory royales once again show that, listen, you can go for the eliminations, but I'm going to be making it to the end game over and over again. And although Peterbot and Pollo, with the way that they're going, can clearly grab even more eliminations, they do only have 3 more available games because they've only played 7. Compared to Muzz and Paper, who've only played 4 games.
It's crazy. It's crazy for sure out here in these streets. Now, we're getting ready because we have more games to go. Remember, we're starting to close these down very quickly. So players need to get back in this queue, or they need to last as long as possible in these games to maximize their point threshold, as we are coming down to the wire. With that being said, MDF Taco, over to you.
Is that facts? Like, are we seeing Muzz and Paper on is that 3 wins back to back potentially right there?
That is looking like a little bit of a three-peat from Muzz and Paper. They have certainly been on demon time today, and much needed as well. What better time could you ask for that kind of performance than in week 2? Because keep in mind, next week going to be our bye week, and then week after that is where we're leading into semis. And Muzz and Paper, they want to make sure that they are locking down that upper bracket for semis.
Something to think about too, you could be at this position in the game and there's like 45 minutes left in the queue, so you could get 3 full games in. So even if you blew through 7 rounds, right around this time right here, if you just slow things down and play for endgame and make all the endgames, you could get full games out of the way, which is, you know, something very interesting to think about as well. As far as pacing is concerned, we see this a lot where teams don't really utilize all their games, which kind of means they didn't make as many points as they probably could have. Quanti here. He's got a down Byla. This is everything essentially for this game right now. Very important moment for him to not throw this one. He has to win this 1v1. He does have the disadvantage, but the tags are good. That's going to give him a little bit of confidence there. And he still has the bait of Byla's down body. He's always going to keep the pressure here onto Evges. Look, he's going to toss his teammate out. He's
maybe a little too far.
This is desperate. No, a little too far there, Taco.
Unlucky, but at the same time, it almost sounded like a little bit of third-party assistance coming into play. You could see a team potentially looking to close in on this 1v1 situation. Quanti at least able to pick up Byla's lead card. And with the entrance of that new duo, that might just be the bailout point here for Evges and Quanti. Quanti potentially stuck in a worse position than what he initially was, just because of where that new duo has actually situated themselves at. And it's definitely going to be rough for Quanti and Bila to see an endgame here. If Quanti can even escape this initial aggression from Builds and Doom, a duo that's likely looking to try and establish some surge with 0 eliminations, but a decent loadout. It does appear as though surge is the one thing that Builds and Doom are lacking here, but they might have lost their chance. Quanti, sneaky and sly as ever, managing to work his way out of that hillside position, which is a very fortunate circumstance. Now it's all about getting to the reboot van, and kind of touching on what you were alluding to earlier on MDF, time management is a skill when it comes to the lobby completion factor.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, you really have to try to optimize, especially if you're not playing the best of games, right? If you find yourself making it to, let's just call it somewhere around the mid game, right? You committed those 15 minutes, those 10, 15, 20 minutes of game, and you're not really getting big points. Maybe you should start keying a little sooner, right? Not blowing all of your time chasing placement, and instead trying to pad up some eliminations. That's what those extra rounds are there for, to see if you can have that momentum start and then take that confidence into the end game. In fact, you'll probably be better off for it, as you're going to feel more confident, you're going to feel better. We're in Sprite, one of the few teams that have had, you know, kind of this 150-ish point middling game. They had a chance at the top of the standings, but lost their stride for a moment there. What are they up to? Are they looking for someone or just seeing what they can find here on the backside of Storm?
No, it's probably a bunker play that Sprite and Shore were contemplating going for. Just a little bit north from their current position. Whether or not it'll actually work out in their favor, because there could be some nice leftovers from the bunker, even though teams are pretty quick to pounce on it as soon as it spawns in that third zone. You never know what they might be forced to leave behind. So, could be an interesting circumstance that works out in Sprite and Shore's favor. At the very least, they've likely scouted out that there was a duo still lurking nearby that bunker north from there. Last seen position is now School and Thoric. Just seeing a lot of teams kind of boxed up currently. It's just, do I even read it at this point? Like, that's the real question.
All right, what's your Twitter?
He's got some intentions, you know. Maybe if he gets the Dreamin' merch first, you know.
Get at least 100 points, right? Then we'll talk. 54 right now. Little bit of a ways to go here.
Show them that you're worth it, right? All about earning that spot. It's what all these teams are trying to do in the first place, is earn their spot in the series points for that semis position, whether it's upper or lower bracket.
Little bush action here from Donnie and King. I like this play too because they're not in the safe zone, so they're definitely in the crosshairs and the pathing of duos that are going to come. It's a great pickup from the observers. Let's see if they actually successfully land the shots. That's what's going to matter most. Little did they know, team is right up to their right here. Donnie hears the builds coming in. Those teams pre-fire the bush, and this is why you need to check those bushes. This is why all the top-tier pros would never, ever jump past this bush right here, especially if it's by the edge of the zone. Rat gun, I hope you learned a lesson here today, because that was almost Fortnite Rotation 101, and he failed the test.
Sometimes losing is learning, and for good reason. Unfortunate that that's the way Rat Gun had to experience a learning moment, but it is what it is at this point, MDF. And right now, King and Donniebot trying to do their best now to fend off Staxaruni and Mystic. They've got a little bit of space between them, some of their pre-existing builds, but they still want to be cautious on their approach. You can usually get a pretty good idea of the caliber of team that you are dealing with that initial skirmish of a box fight, and Staxaruni trying to do his best to clear out some of these old ramps, some of these old walls. King 1 and Donnie, though, not ones to let up by any means. Also trying to take advantage of some players lifting in a little bit late here, but no shots are going to be able to connect. Instead, they've just got to make sure that they maintain a good distance on their backside, but the zone is pulling in. And that's going to be the go sign for all of these teams that don't want to get caught on the outsides of the edge of zone.
You know, if Fortnite competitive ever gives us a chance to take over the socials, that's what I'm going to post. Sometimes losing is winning dash taco 2024. And no context, just like that.
Well, technically learning, but you know,
It's just good. It's good.
words can mean the same sometimes.
Take a look at this spot. Quante and Bile come flying out the edge of the zone, barely in. He finds himself a nice little sweet spot. Meanwhile, no Bucky here. Okis left to fend for himself. Great pre-fire attack right there. That was just excellent damage right here. You can really see how he demanded the respect from Murubi up top. Only 5 below too. What a shame. This is the single tag. One of the only players just right there on the threshold.
But even if Okis survives this, his issue is going to be what lies ahead from this position. Duo's already poised above Murubi in his current position, and now Aviv, Chubbs, potentially having heard crack shields, they want their opportunity for a freebie pickup. Murubi trying to create a little bit of space here, but Aviv just a little bit quicker. Gonna look for a different angle of approach here while Chubbs continues to aggress on the front side, and it's Okis that they run into. Poor Okis, just a pure victim after having just escaped such a problematic scenario against the likes of Murubi. Now he's still got to deal with Aviv and Chubbs, an even more dastardly duo to deal with in the first place. And that's going to be the last of Okis' fizz that he's going to be forced to expend here, as well as his remaining dash. Absolute shambles position, but Okis still trying to keep it alive for the 3-1-3 for Bucky.
Oh, Aviv lost him there too. Well played by Okis. Getting low inside the builds right here. Aviv fully exposed right now. There's no resistance up top. This is all their territory to essentially play for. The Fortnite GOAT and Soul TV get punished for trying to peek there. And Okis lives to see another day. A couple moments longer here. Pretty odd situation to be in. But look at that. He finds some heals here. Left inside this catacomb of worth of old builds. And Aviv and Chubbs are too distracted now to come down and finish what they started. Meanwhile, Bile and Quante from the last team to rotate into the zone. Now set up already. Oh, they're going to look for the fight here too, potentially. I get some cheeky tags. Let's see it.
Quante is still holding on to that waterbending mythic, so knowing that the drop-off isn't going to be an issue here, he could be looking for a prime opportunity, try and establish some territory on height where the waterbending mythic would work best if he's able to go for the long-range engagements. But he's going to have to work his way through some other teams first, and Okis just trying to find a solid refresh opportunity. His one silver lining being the fact that when we last checked in, he was almost 700 damage above that surge threshold, so that has bought him a good amount of time in terms of how pressured he actually is for these rotations. He's probably going to be able to play a little bit more towards the backside of zone, likely going to stick to the low ground as well, see if he can find another solo or even a split-up duo that he can look for that refresh opportunity on. But he needs one desperately, and it needs to happen ASAP because...
Oh.
Just lost my train of thought watching that.
That was a great tag from School FN. The fact he didn't even go to finish it. He shot and just looked away. It's just a fade away right there. I was like, yeah, I know he's going to build. It's all good. I'll take the damage. And immediately focuses elsewhere. Okay, so our high ground team is definitely locked in right now. Okis is on the front side of this. Oh, no, he's actually on the back of the zone for the rotate right now. Player in the box, close to getting the finish there, but not enough damage. It's going to come through. Meanwhile, Quante does get that range that he was looking for to really optimize. But the Mythic switches to the shotgun just in time and finds elimination. What was that? School walked into the wrong box. This is our high ground team, by the way, who is lurking behind just a little too long.
Cool and Quanti just both look like neither of them anticipated the other to be there in that moment. Just fully caught by surprise.
You asked about jump scares. I think that was one of them for sure.
Easily. But Thoric still trying to control some semblance of high ground play here. Teams haven't necessarily spotted out the fact that it's a solo on height, but Thoric also just focused more so on trying to get his white heels back up. Medkit gonna get him at least towards 86. So it's enough health to still try and be somewhat aggressive from the high ground, at least for the time being, but higher, Playify. They're working their way through these mid-ground layers currently. Banana and Flowberries gonna get expended here, and Chubbs, Aviv looking to just jump right in to another team's box, but Chubbs not expecting the bite back, and that's gonna be the end of his run in this match.
Yeah, but listen, Aviv and Chubbs are working their way to a top 10 right now. These placement points are critical, but the eliminations are equally important. Well played for Aviv right there to get the excellent find, and picks up the heals too. Meanwhile, Higher and Playify, they've already shown us excellence coming out of game one. Their timing was impeccable, and look at this, showing it once again here. When they're in the end game, their decision making just seems very, very well. King 1, first time we're seeing Expo here in this end game. Thoric still solo, holding high ground. Blocks out HQ, but tries to go for high ground. Has to hit the falling shotgun shot. I don't think he finds it, but Blue Cow and Havoc here are in control now. 5 elims, high ground with material. This is their game to win, essentially.
Could be a problem, though, for everybody underneath them. One thing to point out, though, Aviv did have 500 metal. So max metal is definitely the kind of position you want to be if you're forced to play through the low ground. Although he's ran out of it rapidly. As quickly as he found it, it is depleted once again. This refresh, though, onto Higher doesn't actually get a chance to collect the loot off the body just yet. Knows that he has to keep moving forward. The Banana gonna help him expedite his movement towards that front side of zone. He's just gonna hover the low ground. Teams kind of clearing themselves out. Now getting a chance to look back. HQ depleted. Medallion gonna be picked up there for Aviv as well. Thoric gonna fall next, but that's a saving grace moment from Havoc up above. Potentially winnable.
They're gonna come down, so Aviv has a chance right now. Havoc is fully healthy, though. He did manage to find some HP, but the duo mate is not so much. And then you have Playify lurking behind, so Aviv jumps over, finds a huge tag, but no, it's not gonna be enough, and Playify is surely not gonna have enough HP to survive the storm there. And our high ground team, Blue and Havoc, win the game there in great fashion as well.
Yeah, they did an excellent job of just staying side by side. They kind of recognize the fact we are one of the only duos still left standing at this point. Although, I respect the attempt from Aviv. He tried to overtake, ramping up. It looked for the jump shots, but unfortunately just unable to connect. Havoc and Blue, what a show to close this lobby out for themselves. Some nice placement points to build their way up on the leaderboard, but we get to check in with Zeke, Vivid, and Kelly to see how things are actually shaping up.
Victory Royale for Havoc and Blue, and of course paired up the eliminations. Remember, every single one of these points is going to make a difference, right? These guys picking this up, especially now, this could be such a big game changer for the duo. So I'm excited to see that they were able to pull this off. And honestly, when you just look at it like a technical standpoint, they had plenty of builds. They had the heal off ready. These guys got a textbook win here.
Yeah, huge win for Havoc and Blue. As you can see, they're both of them channeling their inner Marius with the cows at the end of the name right there. And yeah, showing up just as big as he did over on EU. Getting the dub here. Yeah, just a typical, hey, listen, they had the awareness to see that Thoric, who, by the way, I have no idea how Thoric was on high ground for pretty much that entire endgame as a solo, finally gets sought out. And yeah, they just go ahead and steal the high ground away. Aviv and Playify both playing the heal off, finally jumping in, trying to get a last couple of points with elims maybe, but unfortunately no heals, no HP left to do it. They go down.
What I love from the Cowboys there is the dropping from height. They had such an extreme height difference, and they didn't really have the weapons to kind of allow them to get elimination points. So bit by bit, they kind of lowered height without sacrificing it, and I thought that that was kind of a pivotal part of their success in that end game.
Okay, I like it. All right, we've got our standings. All right, again, starting to get ever closer here to closing down the queues. We've got a couple more games, just a little bit of time left for a lot of these players. Let's take a look at our standings. Muzz paper.
Okay.
They finally said, Peterbot, Oyo, we've had enough. You've got 7 games under your belt. We've got 5 games under our belt. And now we're going to take over. But NPen and Pump as well. It's like we've done like a full like swap or Rooney. You know, before it was Peterbot and Poyo that were ahead of the duel, right? It was 1 point separating them. And then now we've done the same thing. We've swapped around, but now it's a Muzz paper, NPen and Pump show. Like, this is crazy.
You know, I love to go ahead and throw a little question mark into the mix right here. It seems like Peterbot and Poyo exited their last game about 30 minutes ago, and they haven't recorded one in the last 30 minutes. So I'm just saying they're probably in an end game right now, which means they probably got like 50 eliminations. But let's go ahead and check out a team that's been a little bit more consistent in terms of placement points. Got to be Aviv and Chubbs, right? We kind of got to catch them out in multiple end games throughout the day, Kelly. And the fact that they're kind of a new duo, right? A lot of question marks coming into a lot of the new duos. Usually it's hard to do good as a new duo, but they are proving that statistic wrong very, very easily.
It's still, though, a little on the fence for me, where Chubbs and Aviv are struggling to get Storm Surge tags. We can actually see that they were below Storm Surge around Zone 8 there. Luckily able to recover with all the players going down, so it wasn't too much of a detriment to them. But clearly, this mid-game issue isn't that much of an issue, because their worst performance they've had so far was 26th place. Beyond that, they've got a 2nd, a 5th, and a 1st place. Both that 2nd and 1st double-digit elimination games coming out of there. So again, I would love to see just a little bit of fine-tuning, especially with them being a new duo. That's to be expected, but it seems like this is really working out for them, and I'm excited to see if they're going to go into the semifinals as this duo.
Guys, I've got an update. Remember when we looked at those standings and Peterbot and Poyo were in 3rd place? Okay, well, they just updated for us. Thank you, production team. They just had a game. 18th place, 14 eliminations. We got too comfortable, okay? We tried to keep out the myths. I'm sorry for being a mere mortal. That's a seasonal reference. But these guys are going absolutely crazy. Now, they have 8 games completed, so technically they have 2 more to go in just like the next little bit. So if they do it again, they can just do that twice, right? Hop in, 14 eliminations, bounce. Go back in, 14 eliminations, bounce. And then they've just won, you know, week number 2.
I have a feeling next time we see them update one of their games on the leaderboard, I feel like that elim category right there is going to have 3 digits in it instead of 2. So let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this next game's going to go.
Well, we just jump right into it, right? More games, more action. Booga Agers, what are they up to? Let's find out together.
Booga and Agers, Zeke. You chose Booga and I'm kidding. He doesn't get to choose the games. Everyone slow down.
What do you mean? He picks everything. He controls the zones, the games. Come on, MDF. The narrative.
That's great. Love to see it. Well, we're jumping in here. 4th zone, so early game is gone. It's out the window. Getting right into the thick of things here. It's a team holding up. It's position up top, so this is not a safe spot by any means to sit around for too much longer. And as you can see, the damage does start to add up here.
And having just had 3 med kits makes sense why Booga and Agers were willing to bide their time, wait before opting to rotate in. Off the launch pad, but again, Booga Agers, a team quick on the approach there to Rift Island, could be very troublesome for the other duo that was sitting up above. Itoshi and Larson, though. And you know what this is really looking like to me, MDF? It's we might finally get a visual of what I personally view as some of the worst zones to deal with, the ones that pull towards that southeast side of the map, the Mount Olympus zones of doom, essentially, because dealing with the elevation changes is just so problematic for even the best teams.
Yeah, but you know what? We kind of need it. Let's be honest. Let's mix things up. We're in the last couple of games here worth of coverage. You know, and this is what Zeke wanted. Clearly, he's pressed the button. He pressed the mountain button. And we're going right into that treacherous territory. First time we're seeing Chimp and Scissors here as a highlighted duo. Take a look at the standings as well if you're just tuning in. Muzz and Paper up at the top. And Pump clicks an epic whale. Aviv and Chubbs. We were asking, can they go straight to uppers? I mean, Aviv and Chubbs could just be having that victory run that you'd hope for.
Back all the way up the first.
It's definitely very promising for them being 5th currently on the leaderboards this late into week 2's competition. But again, still got to close it out. Can't get too excited. Never know when other teams might decide to try and play leapfrog with the leaderboards. And again, every single one of these duos competing, all of them with upper bracket on their mind. Just so much easier to get that qual spot to grands from an upper bracket semis run. But at the end of the day, these teams honestly would just be happy to make it into semis in the first place.
One sec. Okay, never mind.
They're all also just, you know, hawking the clock. They're looking at what's going on there, and they're saying to themselves, man, we only got about 20 minutes before the queue closes out. Do we key this game? Do we play this one out? Like, is it worth it? What are our odds right here? So I'm going to assume that every team that's sitting around right now has very, very good loadouts, and every team we've kind of jumped in with so far as well are pretty much situated. So I think this is going to be a pretty tough game, and it's going to be a telling game.
You got a little glimpse there of Nate Hill, though. Another big player as far as content creation is concerned, but the focus right now onto Antonio. Zipline action to aggress into the box. And a nice knock to go with it. 2 very well-deserved eliminations for Antonio and Roll, but again, you've got to keep the momentum building. And you can see Antonio a little bit concerned here about needing to refarm some wood, but as far as hard material is concerned, definitely in a good spot.
Town Aiden, pressure coming in from teams up above. It's that elevation starting to come into place here. Let's see it, hand cannon, heavy ARs on the other side. A bit of a rotate, actually. It's a hunt, it's a beat down. What's going on here? Big tag on Cruisin'. Shut him down. That's going to bring this duo up to 8 eliminations. Antonio and ZNO coming up out of nowhere.
Definitely a team that is getting very active, and that's the other thing too, though. That's kind of a reoccurring theme that we saw in week 1. As the tournament for today goes later and later, MDF, we start to see these lobbies begin to thin out so much quicker than at the starting point of the day. It's almost as if teams that are kind of recognizing the fact of like, hey, we might not have enough time to finish playing through all of our matches. Let's just go for those high elimination factors, as you had mentioned earlier on. It definitely seems to be in the back of the mind, at least for Antonio. And it's been a relatively successful endeavor this match so far.
Carrots on the move. A long way to go. But I agree with you. You got to take your wins as they come. Sometimes it is a matter of inches.
But that can lead to miles.
Is that really Nate Hill? What is going on right now?
No, he actually qualified for this week.
Yep. I heard 72 hours somewhere out there. Like, what is going on this week?
No, it was insane because it was in his last lobby that he was in. He had 176 points, and for qual, it was looking roughly around like 213 for round 4. And his duo actually solo clutched their position to be here today. An incredible feat to overcome. So to see them with 136 points on the day so far indicates that they've definitely been making the most of that lifeline they were extended to participate here in round 4 today.
I really do respect Nate Hill's ability to compete, even after all these years. Same as Booga, same as Agers, and they up on high ground. They're trying to win this one from the Rift Island. They have a lot of other action going on right now, though. You saw Antonio and Zeno. They were at 8 elims. You looked away. Well, guess what? They're at 10 now. Really, really trying to jump back into these points right now in the final moments. It's like the marathon stretch here, right? Mental fatigue starts to set in. You've had a long tournament, but you never really give up, and then you have a game like this for Antonio and Zeno really showing and proving to themselves that anything is possible. The monstrous games can come up out of nowhere.
For sure, but you definitely have to favor Bugha and Ager's positioning here currently. Being able to utilize the launch pad at Rift Island to make their rotate all the easier, and more importantly of all, maintain elevation over a lot of these other teams. Because again, doesn't seem as though they're gonna wind up actually at Mount Olympus of Doom, but still a treacherous position for a lot of these teams, kind of straggling more towards the outskirts, edge of zone area. Antonio roll another one onto Inks and Pandy. Unfortunate. Pandy might still be going. Pandy season. And Inkins, keep in mind, that was a team that made it through in week 1, likely looking pretty solid as far as semis is concerned, but still would, of course, like that upper bracket.
10 minutes left.
He's on the move right now. They gave up the Rift Island to get to the front side of zone. Lands right on top of
Peterbot on first.
He's trying to try to stabilize himself here, but shots are coming in. The pressure.
But none of them actually.
Too many angles are available right now. It's Visual and Braids right here. Little do they know. They are bringing on a world of trouble here for Bugha and Agers. You have to assume a good chunk of their material is burnt right there that quickly.
Just no worse feeling, honestly. Visuals, though, beaming with the DMR. Hunter's DMR can definitely be super problematic.
30 points. So
a player with solid accuracy gets a scope on it, and Visuals now going to take this opportunity.
23rd place.
Jump forward, front side. Low ground, though, a little bit more towards that mid-ground area, but Bugha and Agers, solid recovery. That was a refresh that they desperately needed.
Clicks is
16 builds back up to 71, so yeah, for sure had their materials burnt by Visuals and Braids.
So they still got this. Yeah, my bad.
For the low ground, way on up, action on the backside of the storm line, Antonio and Zeno. This is exactly what I wanted to see happen. I wanted to see a team find incredible amounts of confidence and then watch that confidence translate into what could be, you know, the best game of their tournament that they've had so far. And I feel like we're watching that play out right now for Zeno and Antonio, as they've almost proven to themselves they can do it. 12 eliminations, but even though high ground is theirs at the moment, the pressure comes in. You cannot let your guard down, and no, they get broken out from the side. Tony and the Cat come in out of nowhere right now and crush their high ground dreams, but it's not over yet.
A lot of high ground swappage taking place throughout the course of today, usually several times over and then some in a lot of these lobbies. Scissor and Chimp, they've kind of just been huddled more towards the low ground, and for what it's worth, definitely finding an ample amount of materials and refreshes. Essentially 8 eliminations spread between the two of them. Visuals, Braids still only working with the one, but at the same time they've had a pretty successful time kind of just waiting things out in some of that mid-ground area. Tony, Cat, again, just the team looking to ensure that they don't get height stripped away from them. Good suppressive fire into all these low ground layers.
Still on the move right now. Ooh, Zeno is down. Top 10 here for Antonio. Finally breaks into that 200-point threshold here. Agers and Bugha battle their way back out of it, but we see the damage has been done to their material counts. They need this elimination right here. In fact, they'll need a lot more here shortly afterwards as well. Visuals, one of the other solos in here. A lot of solos in the mix right now. Zeno falls there to the hands of Chimp. Visuals jumps in the box and he gets taken out as well. It's Tony and Han from up top. We just talked about them playing the disruptor here. They're running out of mats as well. You know, it's gonna really still go any way. I'm not seeing a win condition in anyone's inventory, but no, Agers lets his guard down. The builds were taken, and it's not looking good for Bugha either.
win con for Booga and Agers might have just been eliminated as Booga has a solo now, joining the rest of them. A little bit of Flowberry Fizz left to work with though, and it doesn't matter because Tony is just going to outright challenge the champ. Elimination too clean there. Tony, Cat, their seizure of the high ground seemingly panning out, but sure enough, Chimp and Scissor trying to shut it down best they can, but with 10 splashes, 2 medkits, and a banana, Chimp and Scissor, unless Storm Sickness applies, Cat might just run away with it.
Yeah, this is not looking too hot right now for everyone sitting on the other side. Cat has so much heals here to work with. He's far off in the distance. I think this is wraps right now, even for Scissors here, and there it is. They even try to break out high ground. You know what? You got to respect the team that is willing to fight all the way through to the end. That is how you do it here on the qualifier stage, on the FNCS stage, and honestly, well played for Cat and Tony.
Yeah, they did an excellent job. They seized their opportunity to overtake high ground from Antonio and Zeno, and they did an excellent job pushing that team out. And once they had high ground, Tony as well didn't let up the pressure. Was finding consistent eliminations there to pair things up, tee them up for this finish.
Take a look at that. Honky Cat with a good win there. Well played for him. Tony, you know what? Because they get a win, and that's all that matters here for the qualifier too of week number 2, and that should jump them up. Zeke, give us an update on the standings, man. Where are we?
I've got an update here for you shortly. Really quickly, a big shout out to the duo getting themselves the victory royale. Cat was so deep in Storm. Like, that's the way you play the heal off, right? You play so far in the Storm that there's no one can reach you. We've seen a couple of similar situations happen where you're playing basically as the circle closes, and whoever is nearby, they just go, hey, you're either directly above me or directly below me. I'm going to find you, track you down, and that game ends. But for Honky Cat here, staying deep in the Storm, so many splashes,
like dying off the bat,
Victor Royale.
like dying off the bat, but like
yeah, there's definitely two ways to play that heal off, where like you were saying, we've seen players kind of just drop down once they have the heals, and we even saw it earlier today where one of them was just kind of hiding behind a build and hoping that no one was able to see any of their movement. But for this Honky Cat, by running far, far away, essentially as soon as his duo mate Tony dropped down, he started booking it towards the other end. He's running through all of the low ground mats, so he's going to be able to find even more heals, as well as separating himself from the duo that could easily take him out. So as far as heal ups go, that was the way to play it.
Yeah, but a lot of their credit to how they actually went ahead and won that game was the high ground steal, right? Tanking zone and making sure they got the flank onto the high ground team. I believe that was Zeno who was up on the high ground, and we had actually been looking at Zeno, and he had like 120 plus, but I was like, oh my gosh, this team is 100% holding high ground for the rest of the game. And then 5 seconds later, here comes Honky Cat and Tony flying up to the high ground. I have no idea how they had enough heals for that hype play, tanking zone for that, and then winning via heal up as well. But shout out to them for that VR.
Yeah, as far as height steals go, it was a bit peculiar. It almost looked like Antonio and Zeno just weren't looking behind them. And as far as the new meta we've seen from height steals with this major is that players and teams will kind of wait and storm behind and then go up. So these duos now have to look to the teams in front of them, but also behind them as well when they're on height, because they don't want to get either chopped out from the low teams in the front or get snuck up on like what we just saw from Honky and Tony. And they did it with such ease as well. It looked like within a second the other team just kind of dropped down and gave it up.
Yeah, I guess maybe there was more to that duel, right? Maybe just again the chaotic nature of these lobbies. We have that full vision, but maybe for them there's something maybe they were panicking about. But yeah, like you're saying, they should have known, right? Someone may look to try and challenge for high ground. You don't just get high ground and go, hey, it's cool, this is ours for the rest of the game. But man, still so many plays happen here in just this last game, and we'll have the standings for you guys in just a moment. But again, we're drawing very close. We only have a little bit longer for players to be able to jump in and get their final few games in. So expect to see big swings coming out of these standings not too long from now. Now, currently, Peterbot Pollo sitting in that #1 spot at 97 eliminations. Just to throw it out there, 104 is the current highest elimination record in this setting. They only have 1 game left to do it. They have 9 of 10 games left. So could they do it? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but
So
you know,
we
listen, jumping down to some of other teams, right? On the second page here, I mean, Bugha and Agers finding themselves towards the top of the leaderboard as well. I mean, hey, we've jumped into a couple of their games, Kelly. They've been looking pretty good.
Yeah, they're looking good indeed. And just below there, Kanata and Cooper. But Bugha and Agers, though, anytime that another duo goes up against them, you know that it's going to just go the way of Bugha and Agers. And Agers had such an okay run there. I mean, look how many eliminations he had. He had 10 eliminations or 8 eliminations at one point. But Bugha did have to go into a solo run. And I believe he actually went down in 4th place right there. So a pretty good run from this duo. But you know that they won that victory royale.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's not forget, right? Bugha switching teammates from Major 1 to Major 2, even after a decent performance with a V. So this switch had to be for some reason, and it's games like these that really make you be confident in Bugha's decision, right? 8 eliminations on the duo of Agers right there. Bugha so experienced, always making the right calls and able to clutch as well in the end. Duo's looking strong.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out 17th place, Honky Cat there with Tony. They jumped all the way up there, right? And especially after last week, they didn't have the best performance last week. But after just that single game, suddenly they're finding themselves in that top 20. They're looking to strike, hopefully up into the upper bracket. But at very minimum, they're going to make it into the lower bracket there. So that FNCS dream will continue to be alive. You'll love to see it. Now, getting close here, so we're going to get ready to jump back into the action, but stay locked in. These standings will continue to change. There's a couple more games left, a couple lobbies closing. Let's see how this all pans out. Casters, over to you.
All right, let's get right back into it. These are the last couple of games going down right now. There's roughly 5 minutes or so before the queue will close, and then that's it. You will be in the round that you're in, and you need to earn as much as you can before those leaderboards fully update. The last game populates out the score. So Taco, I mean, what we've seen so far is definitely, I'd say, surprising set of results, if you will, right? You and I were speaking, of course, before the games kicked off. We're like, hey, this is the team that we think, you know, some of the new duos might do pretty well. And all of a sudden, I think there's a lot of great decisions that probably came out of teams switching up.
It's almost as if a vindictive nature of sorts has overtaken each and every single one of those teams. Because again, when you're the duo that gets replaced first, you want to prove that should have never happened in the first place, right? And you don't want to get too caught up in the nature of everything, but I can't help but think that that's definitely added some fuel to the fire for a lot of the teams involved here today, especially those 4 that were involved in that very specific circumstance that we discussed earlier on.
Not only that, if they all end up obviously in the same upper or lower bracket, they will be contesting one another. Like, they are going to continue those feuds. So we're gonna have a very exciting set of FNCS in front of us in the weeks to come. I mean, you bet it, because the points that we've seen start to rack up here, a lot of those duo shakeups that came in the last moment today that had to perform have a lot of points, a significant amount of points, I would say, likely more than they scored in that first week with their first set of duos. So I am interested to see how things are going to shake up.
Again, it'll definitely be some fun content, that's for sure. But this lobby right here, MDF, the way that it has completely just been an elimination frenzy from the looks of things. We're only in the 8th zone, by the way. I just look at how many players remain.
Oh, yeah.
Tenley and Sharkman. They've got 3 limbs spread between the 2 of them. Thunder Pump and Give Me a PC. Kind of just watching the accumulation of limbs take place beneath them. They don't actually have any of their own just yet.
Someone on the team is definitely a fan of Clicks Give Me a PC. As we see him again, he's got high ground. It's looking good. Elsa and Pleasure turning up on the low ground right now. 8 eliminations. And mind you, this one is going to wrap up fairly shortly, pretty quickly. And I hope we're gearing up to hop into other lobbies because there is definitely going to be some other action in play right now for any lobbies that kicked off a little bit later, because this shows us that this game, you know, started long before the lobby queue was closing.
134 he has.
Yeah, and you can definitely see some of the way that these teams are kind of spread throughout.
Just ended. It just ended. It shows.
Of this match here, I think a lot of these teams kind of trying to hover that river of sticks that runs through the heart of Grim Gate here. Just provides so much escape opportunity as well as height overtake opportunity as well as just aggression into box fighting opportunity. So a lot of prime options, I think, that these teams are kind of being left over with. Lawrence and Xanda have certainly taken advantage of the situation from what it appears. 12 eliminations in total. And they're definitely still trying to keep it going.
Yeah, they've really found their foundation here in this game. Let's see what's going to happen there.
Asian Jeff went all the way down to 100.
High ground players probably not happy about that one. Lawrence is just going to start cranking. He doesn't even look back. He lets his team put them into a frenzy and then goes straight for high ground. Very interesting tactic to go ahead and take height. And you can see the foundation of that base wasn't very solid. That's a good 400 or so mats tossed to the wind there. But it is what it is. They now are maintaining this high ground position here. What are they going to do with it? That's what matters.
Well, they've got to act fast, if anything, or hope that nobody notices them just yet because they don't have that many materials left to work with. But then again, with the way that things came so quickly to a halt here in this lobby, I'm hearing so many shots being applied. But again, in terms of duos, it's a solo endeavor from H-Cube, and it's going to fall short here. He gets picked up off the low ground. Blue Cow, Fly Carries, Tenleys, so many players just trying to stay at the front side of zone on the low ground.
By the way, H-Cube had 11 eliminations. Teammate had none. So what in the world kind of clutch was that? I don't know. But Bacon and Gabe, or TK here, on the move right now. This is definitely a top tier duo right here. One that is very much familiar with one another. They can do some damage here. This is where TK normally starts to let loose here. One of our stronger controller players. Bacon gets punished here on the rotate. Meanwhile, King on Expo and Donnie here in the mix. Lawrence and Xanda have secured the high ground here. They've managed to heal up with no material. They are working off enemy builds. This is about as dangerous as it can get. Lawrence, the greed sets in as he thought about jumping down for the mats, but no, lets his guard down just a little bit. And Xanda is now by himself. Xanda got a trade there. That's actually very impressive that he managed to find something, even in that chaos.
This is Taco Bell's brand new Cantina chicken menu, and as a chicken girly, the chicken is slow roasted, comes with fresh ingredients. The avocado verde salsa is dangerously good. The menu comes with a crispy taco, a quesadilla,
So
and
let
my
me finish
favorite, the
this real quick.
burrito. You have to go try it out.
I think it's looking good. TK and Bacon are going to full cap right here. I'm actually surprised they didn't actually fully heal. That's just habit kicking in, and he's just going to go for it. Catches him off guard, dashes up. What a well-executed attack right there, and we just called it. TK and Bacon can win a game. They're that dangerous in the end game, and the queues might have just closed on that win all at the same time there.
Might have actually been gifted that one if you think about where the zone was actually closing in. Having those dashes available to expend is the only reason why we saw TK and Bacon be able to split the focus. Two different angles that they made sure to aggress from, one from the low ground, and then again we saw Bacon go up, challenging on height, and that alone just kind of shows the synergy that this duo is capable of.
And it just well played. It just shows you how much the territory comes into play. So with that, congrats to Bacon and TK. That is wraps. Zeke, take us through what happens next.
We got you covered, Monster D-Face. We've got one game left to go. But
What?
as he said, yes, the queues are closed. We'll have one final game from start to finish to see how this all concludes. Because remember,
One
we're playing
final
for
game, you know,
semifinals
that
right
is
now.
all
We're trying to make
done.
it into the upper bracket or the lower bracket. Otherwise, the FNCS run for Major 2 is done. Now, after that game, Bacon,
Well, that's
TK,
just weird.
sick dash up to the high ground there, just kind of disorienting his enemy right in those final few moments, getting the shot out. Kelly, well executed.
We can win.
Yeah, it was just like Taco was saying. The positioning that they
Did
had
Bacon
while
win?
they were in the low ground
Did
was
Bacon win?
really prime, just making sure that these players weren't aware where both of them were able to grab a few eliminations
win?
as well. And then, of course, going up for height, well, Fear was there by himself, and you can see one player kind of shooting from below here, whereas the other player of TK
Let's go.
jumps up from behind and
I didn't
grabs
see that.
final elimination, and that was their first victory royale of the day. But as you can see from their points, they've had some pretty good games so far. They've had a second and a third place, but now finishing that all up with a victory royale.
Yeah, and you might be like, oh, well, we've seen TK and Bacon in a couple of those end games, just like Kelly was mentioned. They've been very, very consistent, playing out 7 games and making it to the end game in 6 of them. So shout out to them for making one heck of a run here in qualifier 2 round 4. But yeah, just ending that game like a minute after queues closed. I think that was their last game.
Okay, yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out, right? Is
Bacon doesn't show up on here. Look, 302 clicks. Wait, let me restart it. Okay, there we go. Bacon's up here, but no clicks. Go down the stick. It's fine. Bacon. Bacon's up here. Let's go. Going back to
Able
Twitch.
to hold on to the higher ground as a duo, but still clutching up as a solo.
This isn't.
Yeah, I don't think they're complaining too much about not grabbing this victory royale.
GG's,
14
Peter.
eliminations in that second place is definitely going to be pushing them up the leaderboard. But speaking about pushing up the leaderboard, Enpin and Pump steal away first place from Peterbot and Poyo. The question is, I know that they were at 9 games, but was Peterbot and Poyo able to jump into a final game and potentially claim not only first place, but the record for the most amount of eliminations in the final round of our open qualifiers.
Won the game. So
guys,
they
I
got down
am
to
furiously
second.
refreshing these standings, okay?
Again,
I have
and
so
then
many questions
they
because there's
went
so
down
many.
to 11th,
No
and
duo
then they came back up to
currently
5th, and then
is
they
at 10
got down to
games,
6th.
okay? So depending on when these players ended, if they're in a game and then the queue's closed, that's it. They can't just jump back into another game, right? So they had to time things correctly. So we very well could see these standings shift one final time. And the problem is we don't know, right? We don't know who's in